Hi, everybody. I'm Valerie Gilchrist, and I'm broadcasting from Augusta, Georgia. My broadcast is Esther's Purpose, and my guest today is Sha-Ne Simmons, and we're going to hear from her in just a moment. But before I bring her on, I want you to know that we are on WYTV7 from Charlotte, North Carolina. This WYTV7 is a nonprofit organization, and we do take donations. Those donations are used to broadcast nationally and internationally. Our listeners are across the globe and are encouraged by our broadcast. Through Esther's Purpose, listeners who have been going through various trials of life are encouraged to stay on course by hearing the testimonies of our guests. Not only what they went through, but also how they came out in victory and with purpose. Now, let me introduce my guest for today. I'm excited to have her. Her name is Sha-Ne Simmons. She is from Baltimore, Maryland. She what she does is she keeps individuals and business owners out of tax trouble with her accounting and tax services. People and companies are able to rest at night knowing someone is capable and ethical in handling their taxes and accounting. It's a priceless relief that she gives to others. Now, I want to introduce to you all Sha-Ne. Sha-Ne, hello. How are you today?
I'm fine. How are you?
I am doing great and excited to talk to you again.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. So, Sha-Ne, as we talked about earlier in a conversation we had a week or so ago, what I like to do before we talk about what you're doing now, we want to talk about what brought Sha-Ne to where she is. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give you this opportunity to just get us started, okay?
So, basically where I am, I guess where it all started for me, of course, is that I've always loved numbers. And I've always liked to help people, always. It's just been something in me, even as a child. My mom said a lot of times I would just help people who would be like, if I saw somebody struggling that was like disabled or something and they dropped something, no one would have to tell me. I was like a young kid. I would just run over, just help them.
Yeah.
So it's just been in me always to want to help people. So I've used what I've learned and my experiences, in addition to, of course, education and getting my degrees, working at the Internal Revenue Service as an agent. That was huge because I firsthand was, of course, conducting the audits themselves, but sitting across from individuals, anyone who was making just a mere W-2 to big companies and sitting at conference rooms and across from attorneys and other accountants. And, basically having to tell them this is how the tax law applies to you.
Mm-hmm.
The adjustments are going to be made. And this is how, unfortunately, you would have to be penalized to get this corrected. I wanted to be on the other side of the table more and more.
Yeah.
My service at the IRS. I enjoyed my time at the IRS. I ended up being a trainer at the IRS. Yeah. But more and more, I wanted to be a person that helped the other person on the other side of the table, and therefore not where they're not in a position where they are having to be penalized. Because if you come to me proactively, then you wouldn't have to worry too much about if the IRS came to the door. And like you and I had spoke about, in addition to all of that, of course, my daughters. That's my main motivation for pretty much why I went out on my own. My daughter, Bren, when I had my daughter, Bren, she's my second daughter. A lot of people don't know that we'll talk more about my first daughter in a moment. But Bren's my second daughter. And when she was born, I was like, when I raised her, I didn't want to be in a position to say that you can go out and live your dream and be what you want to be. And I'm not living my dream. So I didn't want to be
good.
So that was my main motivation, to step out from the service. And trust me when I tell you, they didn't make me leave. It wasn't a bad reason why I left. Mm-hmm. They wanted me to stay. Enough so to offer me part-time, which is very rare at the service, for them to say, if we'll let you stay part-time if you just stay. And I was like, no, I'm gonna take a leap of faith and go out on my own. And unfortunately, particularly what I'm doing, there was no, a lot of times when you go out on your own as an entrepreneur, the best advice is to continue to work your W-2 job as your business is slowly growing. Mm-hmm. But considering what I'm doing, it's a conflict of interest if I stayed with the IRS and then work on the other side. So I literally had to take a true leap of faith to say, you know what, I'm going to leave this well-paying government job that's comfortable and go 100% out on my own, and knowing that God will provide. And he has. Every month that I've been in business, I've had revenue. And already this year, I have made exactly what I made for the entire year last year already.
Oh, so, awesome.
Right? Isn't that great?
That is great. But hold on. I want to stop you for just a moment.
Okay.
Okay. I'm excited about your tax service and all of that, but what I want to get to? I want to get to Chanel before that. But before I do that, I want to remind everyone that WYTV7 is a nonprofit organization, and we do accept donations. If you would like to sow a seed, we truly would appreciate it. $5 will go a long way so we can continue to impact lives. The money that comes to us actually goes to broadcasting nationally and internationally, as I said. So I just want to thank you in advance for giving. So now, Chanel, I know, so we've heard some about Nell's Tax Help LLC. That is a great name to your business. People won't forget it because they'll remember you. But before you were there and you talked about wanting to help people, and here's the key thing that I want to transition to talking about your first daughter, is you said you had to take a leap of faith. Yes. Now, typically, by the time we take a leap, we've been taking other steps that gradually moved us into our ability to trust like that. Yes. So let's talk about that situation.
So, like I said, in the leap of faith, knowing that, like I said, left a good, comfy government job, and and at the same time, mind you, Bryn had just turned 1, so I have a child, small child. So most people will say you're crazy for starting out on your own like that. But what I know is with our first daughter, we prayed for her. Her name was Ashley. She was born in 2011. I was told prior to having her that I was never supposed to have kids. And if I was going to have children, it was going to require medical assistance, like, IVF or something. And I did a lot of that for a little while, like taking the hormones and all that other stuff. And as soon as I was like, you know what, I'm going to stop doing that, it was like maybe like a year later, next thing I knew, I was pregnant with Ashley. So old-fashioned way, and I didn't even know I was pregnant. I found out that I was pregnant with her. And so, she came, and the unfortunate thing was that she did pass 2.5 hours after she was born. When I was about almost 21 weeks. I was a little over 21 weeks. And my water broke. And got rushed to the hospital and everything. And basically the doctors told me, look, you're gonna be giving birth today because you've lost way too much water. And if she doesn't pass before you give birth to her, she is gonna pass shortly after, most likely. And sure enough, she did. I gave birth to her, had to go through full-blown labor. Wow. All of that. And, her birthday was also her death day. So having to sign a birth certificate and a death certificate. Woo! Yeah. A lot. I always say I to this day, my husband, I as far as hard as it was on me, for him, I know it was double because after I gave birth to her, I could only spend a little bit of time with her. I only spent a few minutes with her while she was alive because I had to get rushed to the OR because I had lost over 40% of my blood. Wow. At that time, I didn't realize all that, but that's what they informed me thereafter. Yeah. And also, too, my placenta wouldn't come out. So, they were tugging on it to get it out. They had to basically go in there and surgically remove it. Wow. Otherwise, I would have hemorrhaged. Right. So mind you, he's having to be left alone in a room with our dying daughter, who we knew was going to die. But then, worst off, his wife has just got rushed off, and he has no clue what's going on with me. So I could have possibly had died too that day.
Right.
And it's like he could have lost us both in the same day, and he's having to deal with all that by himself.
Yeah.
So I always tell people all the time, I don't even know where he drew his strength from. But needless to say, after having lost Ashley, I went through all my emotions with God, being angry, confused, really confused, very much so. Was like, why did you give me this child? Especially too, I had literally made peace with the fact that I could possibly not have had children.
Right.
Before I found out I was pregnant with Ashley. So I was like, why would you give me this child? If in fact she wasn't really mine to have. And like I said, I went through just a whole lot of emotions.
Yeah.
And like I shared with you, Val, I'm gonna share with your viewers as well. It's interesting. One day in my grief moments, like months after I had lost her, I had a screaming match with God because I was angry. I was like, the angry phase of it all. I was really upset about just everything of it, and I basically was like, well, like, and this whole like, well, why? Just why? Like, why did you do this to us, our family? There's so many people out there who don't even want their kids, and just all of it.
Yeah.
And I flipped open my Bible, and it's hilarious. Seriously, John 3:16. We all know the verse very well. If you're a Christian, it's one of the staple top 10, right?
Yes.
For God so loved the world. But in that moment, it went beyond just salvation. I realized God was sharing with me that, because the next part you hear is, that God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. He gave his son. And in that moment, I realized God has also lost a child too. Yeah. In that moment, I'm getting goosebumps to something right now.
It's happening to me too. I was sitting there.
I'm getting goosebumps right now, like literally. Because in that moment, we all think of our Father as like, he's so divine, and he is. He is. In that moment, in that brief second, I realized he was allowing me to understand his humanity, even though God is divine. Yeah. That God too was a parent that has lost a child, and not only did he lose a child, he gave up his child for you and me.
Not only that, can you imagine when you were pregnant, surprised that you were pregnant, shocked that you were pregnant, and then was able to deliver, not knowing that she was going to leave.
Right.
Can we even imagine God sending him to die? That was his whole purpose.
Exactly.
Whole purpose was for him to be to that. And here, I want to say again, I'm Valerie Gilchrist. This is Esther's Purpose, and we're talking to Sha-Ne, and I tell you, she's got an awesome story, and we're sharing it through WYTV7 out of Charlotte, North Carolina, to our viewers nationally and internationally. This is a moving testimony from her, and I wanted to just bring that back to us about how you had that encounter with God, because some of us, we have encounters every day. A lot of us do. Most of us do. I would almost say every human has them. You might not connect it to him, but we have encounters every day. Things happen we don't pay attention to. We just missed a car, or a car just missed us, and we're just driving to work, and we stepped off of a step, and we might have broke our foot, but we didn't break our neck, and all kind of things. You choked on something, and it took you a minute to get it out. All kind of things happen every single day. We watch a news event, and we look at where an accident was and said, I just went through there 5 minutes or 2 minutes just before that happened. or I didn't get just how God just blocks stuff for us. But we say those things, but we so take them for granted.
Yes.
But when something impactful, like what happened in your life happened, we need to hear that. And we need to hear that from people like you who is willing to share what happened and your encounter with God and how he helped you through that. So I'm going to let you continue him helping you through that process.
Mm-hmm. So like I said, in that moment, like I was, and even now, I still feel very thankful that, you know, in that moment, I was able to see another side of God.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think a lot of times we don't really try to relate him to our human experiences,
right,
and realize it from his grand, even though he is grand and he's omnipotent and all these wonderful things, he too was a father that, like you said, had to send his child to die. That's a whole nother category.
Yeah.
You know, which made me realize it literally, I started crying in that moment because I realized he 100% understood my pain. Not just because he's God, but like literally he got it. He could relate.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I apologize.
We all do. We all
but
have
I apologize because and you know what? I remember when I told this to one of my friends who's a minister. She told me, she basically was like, God can take it. And I want you guys to know, anything that you have, like when they tell you truly go to the Father, to the throne, not just with stuff that you are like, you know, you're asking for to help you out, but like if you have feelings of anger, feelings of sadness, he can be your punching bag. It's okay. Just like how we sometimes act out towards our own parents.
Right.
If you ever notice, you can yell and slam the phone on your parent, and then the next time you pick up the phone, it's okay, and you get a hug. You know, and people basically will go ahead and just, you know, they'll bring you back. Your mama will love you again. Your daddy will give you all is forgiven. God's the same way.
Well, you know, and the thing is, he's like that because we have to remember that he knows our end before our beginning and everything that we go through in the midst. So nothing that we think, say, feel, or do surprises him.
No.
Nothing at all. And he's already set up for us to win in the process of it. And he's even there with us in the midst. So it's really, I know we always feel like we need to apologize, but you know what? We don't even have to do that with him because his love is so great and so awesome. We can't even fathom that level of love, that he understands it all, every bit of it. Because again, he saw it, you know, and he sent his son so that he could love us and forgive us. If had his son not died for us, he couldn't have done that, but he did it ahead of time. And that's what's so awesome. He already prepared forgiveness ahead of time of everything that we were ever going to do, think, or feel.
And then instead of and I want to say, in addition to that, instead of just thinking of what I lost, after that, and once I processed all of that, I would say weeks later, more and more, and that's been more of the journey now. I've been just thankful for what Ashley's little bit of life meant. One, just it caused me to have a whole nother appreciation of life in general. My mother actually said it best, and that people are rented to one another. We're leased to one another. You never know, for anybody, regardless of the age, how long that lease will be. But we're loaned to one another. So that's why it's so important for us to always make sure that, you know, with whatever time you have with someone, try to make it positive. Let them know that you love them, whatever, because you really don't know. Time is the truest, most important asset any of us have, because nobody knows how much time you have. You can't go back and get it corrected or get more of it. So you have to treat it as precious as it is. And my daughter's life was only 2 hours, like a little bit over 2 hours. But in her little bit of life, She taught me that little bit of lesson. I did get a chance to hold her hand.
Amen.
Before, before I got rushed off.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a chance to hold her really quickly. So we did have a moment. I pulled her thumb out her mouth. So I got a chance to parent her for a little bit of time. You know, as moms, us mothers, we got to nitpick on something.
Yes, yes.
And and glory to God, like I said, I didn't know I had lost over 40% of my blood. They said that typically when people get to that level, they go into shock and just all kinds of things. You could die. You know, you're not supposed to lose that much of your blood because your organs can start failing. And the fact that I'm here and I was able to, they brought me up out of the anesthesia from the getting rid of the placenta and everything. A few hours later. And, I was able to go back to the room and be with my husband and everything. And all of that is truly a blessing. And more so importantly, Ashley proved the doctors wrong. The doctors were so bent on that. It was impossible for me to conceive without having their intervention. And God was like, And, I will say, that when we found out we was pregnant with Bryn, and again, Bryn came a few years later, and it was all natural again.
Yeah. You got a blessing 2 times.
2 times. Yes, I did. I'm not going to lie to you. A lot of times when we go through things and God put us in similar situations, we're scared. And I'm not going to lie, around the time that I had lost Ashley, I was scared. I literally had a break. I cried. I was just because I was so terrified because when I got to that 21 week, I was just like, is this going to happen again? They were closely monitoring me and everything with Bryn. Like I had 1,000,001 doctor appointments. Any of you ladies out there, if you ever know, you know how they'll basically call you a high risk pregnancy. If you ever lost a child the first time or had complications before, that's typically what they'll do. But we gave birth to her. She was all of 39 weeks and some days. We celebrated her 3rd birthday.
Amen.
Yeah. And what's so awesome about both of my girls, I tell people all the time, even though I would have never expected to be inducted in motherhood the way I was, actually definitely made me a mother and made me sensitive to a lot of things in life. And like I said, and revealed another aspect of God. And Bryn definitely made me a parent. 100%. And let me tell you, being a parent has definitely helped me really appreciate some things about God and just and his forgiveness of us and being patient with us. And we're given the Bible. The Bible is literally the equivalent of when you tell a child, don't do this, don't do it, and you do it anyway.
Yes, absolutely.
So, I'm like, being Bryn's mom and everything, it's been challenging and one of the most beautiful things ever. However, if it wasn't for me going through with what I went through with Ashley, I think it wouldn't have made me as sensitive to just how important it is to be just the best mom I could be and enjoy those moments. And there's times where, of course, I still get a little sad because I always say it's like the unseen child. It's like I'll be hanging out with Bryn and I'll be like, I wonder how it would have been if my other daughter was here, if Ashley was here.
I can get that and not in a child mode. Now, I'll talk about that in a couple seconds, but I lost my mom December 10th of 2016 from a PE episode to her lungs. She was talking like her and I were exchanging conversation just like you and I are right now. And I never knew that in the next moment, in the next breath, she was going to be literally before my eyes fighting for her life. And within 2 hours, she was gone, transitioned into eternity. And I tell you, you talk about stunned, frozen in time. I was just frozen because I could not believe what was happening before my eyes, because she was right there I was sitting next to her on the bed, and we got up to take a couple of steps. And I mean, literally within seconds, she's fighting for her life. And all of these medical people are coming around her. The doctor had just told us that she could go home tomorrow. All she had to do was eat her meal, lunch, dinner, get up to the next morning, which would have been Sunday morning. She was gone. And I tell you what, it took, I don't know if you have a time clock on it, but I can tell you that for the next 7 months, I was frozen in time.
Yeah.
There was nothing, I couldn't see anything past it. Everything I did was mechanical. I went to work, I got up and got dressed, but I had no feeling. I was numb for 7 months because I couldn't wrap my mind around when the Bible tells us that life is but a vapor. That's all I kept thinking about was I literally saw that scripture in reality. And as you said, when you spend time with people, you have to know that time is precious, because I don't know if I'm going to see you again,
right.
the next moment, let alone the next hour. So I just commend you and thank you so much for sharing that, because it's difficult for me even now to do it. It wasn't a child for me, but it was my mother.
Yeah. And,
and I have twin daughters. And matter of fact, they just turned 36 Sunday. They probably don't want me to tell their age, but they just turned 36 Sunday. And I had to have a C-section when I had them because the older one got in distress. Oh. And they had pulled her out. And so I was only 20 when I had them. And, when I woke up, I didn't know anything because I was asleep.
Right.
And the next thing I'm hearing is the one that they pulled out because she was in distress. She was in neonatal ICU. So for 2 days, I didn't see her. And without, them giving me the okay, I snuck out of my room holding on to the wall because I know you can relate to this. I just wanted to see her.
Yeah.
I wanted to look at her. And I tell you, when I went to that ICU unit and I saw her, and I couldn't even see her. She had tubes everywhere. She had this big thing over her head so she could breathe. All I could see was her little fingers. I could see her stomach and her little toes. That was it. Everything had, and she was strapped down. And so it was a traumatic thing as a mom, when those kind of things happen, because we always see the yay. Mm-hmm. We don't see, those of us who went through traumatic things. Right. And so I thank the Lord for her every single day, because she could have easily have been gone.
Yep.
So, we cannot take not one moment for granted.
Nope.
Janelle, I've really enjoyed this conversation with you. And I just want to remind our audience that my name is Valerie Gilchrist. This is Esther's Purpose. And we're broadcasting from WYTV7 out of Charlotte, North Carolina. We just thank this national, international audience for just spending some time with us today. So to be encouraged, and we want to do that at WYTV7 through Esther's Purpose. We want to encourage people that no matter what you've been through in your life, you can come out of it and still do great things for God because of what we've been through. It doesn't feel good right there when it happens. It takes a while to navigate through it. But if we're just patient with the Lord, he'll see us through it. Is that right? So Chanel, give us a little bit more about Chanel's, it's Nails Tax Help LLC. Tell us a little bit more about that before we close.
So, like I said, God's good. He just gave me the courage to go out on my own, and I've been a blessing since. Basically, in addition to, of course, tax services, I do tax returns, accounting for small businesses, and as a matter of fact, if anyone needs their books done, I am a QuickBooks pro advisor, so I'm certified to assist in that. And in addition to that, I also handle any audits with the IRS or state. And if you have any bills that are outstanding, I try to get those cleared up for you, or at least get you in a situation where it's a little easier for you to be able to handle it as far as payments. So I use all of this stuff that God gave me in this brain to try to help out people, because it's a really serious thing. I know the word says, give unto Caesar was Caesar, and give unto God was God. But I'm gonna tell you about Caesar. You don't have to give everything to Caesar. The ways to do it.
Yeah.
Do it the right way. But trust me when I tell you, you don't have to go broke help giving out to Caesar. You just don't. But you should not honest. If you do it the right way,
yeah,
you typically don't end up having have a problem. But you know, like I said, I just use what I know and my experiences and my education to help out people. And just recently, I was able to help out a couple.
Okay, that, you know, it's great, and I hate, I don't want to just cut you off like that. But no, it's awesome what you do to help everybody, and you know, that is a great thing, because you're right, it is scary to have tax people, you know, come after you. But we thank you so much for being on our show today. Again, this is Esther's Purpose.
Thank you for having me.
Gilchrist, I thank you so much, and you are so welcome. Thank you for sharing your heart. I thank our listening audience. Again, this is WYTV7 out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Esther's Purpose, Valerie Gilchrist. You know, follow us on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, and just follow us and like us and share us. We so appreciate it. Thank you so much for your giving in advance. Have a great day. Bye-bye.